Welcome back to His and Hers Movie Podcast. This is episode number 50, featuring a review of our first 2021 horror film, Shadow in the Clouds, a film starring Chloe Grace Moretz. It is a World War II film set in a plane with some gremlin action. So we'll get into that later. I am one half of your hosting duo, JP, podcasting on this January 17th, 2021. Joining me tonight, as always, is my co-host, Carly. We're both podcasting out of Southwest PA. What's going on? Welcome back.
Hello, yes, we made it to episode 50. Yay. I have just been watching moves and kind of hanging around, especially today. I've been watching, I just started watching a move and then we went to record, but I was, kind of doing nothing today. You and I hung out the other day and, yeah, that's pretty much nothing really exciting. It's just been nice watching some movies that aren't 2020 movies again, so I've been enjoying that. I've been watching 05 movies as well, but it's been nice. It's been freeing. I like the start of the year because I feel like I can watch whatever I want.
Yeah.
How about you?
I agree. I think that one of the coolest things about finishing, because like with 22 shots, from like October to January is just chaotic. Like usually in October, October, we start back up in September, so we're always like really behind on like Patreon shows and stuff like that. And then we go into we have a bunch of shows that are date specific or like month specific. So for example, October, our Halloween show we have to do, and then November, it's 4 straight shows of Italian Horror Month, and we've been doing that for I think 5 or 6 years, and we've never missed a week. So that's really hard because we know when Italian Horror Month comes up, we can't miss a show. Like we have to make sure we get to all 4 of them, in some cases 5, which we did last year in 2019. And then into December, we have our Christmas show and then the end of the year show. So it's, our top 10. So it's just crazy. Only watching 2020 movies, only watching stuff for the podcast. It gets really insane. So when January rolls around, we usually record the top 10 show at the first or second week of January. We do that, release it, and then usually we have a week off after the show to just kind of recuperate, but that's usually when we can watch whatever we want. This year in particular, we actually ended up taking like 3 weeks off because I can't do a show next week, which would have been Paranormal Activity, so we have an additional week off, which is almost all of January, by the time, I think we'll record that on like the 29th or something like that. So I've been able to watch whatever I want pretty much, and that is always really fun. And then even when we get back to shows, I still have more free time because whenever we're doing regular shows, if I'm not watching movies for regular shows, then I feel I'm cheating or being non-responsible if I'm not watching 2020 movies by that point. So it's really like refreshing to move on from the 2020 prep and into 2021 because I have a whole year to watch 2021 movies, and the only thing I have to worry about is podcast movies. So typically a podcast show for us is 3 films. So if I watch 1 movie a day regularly, that leaves 4 spots for open movies. Now, unfortunately, our first shows back are like 7 films and then 5 films, I think. So whenever we do come back, I will be a little bit more limited, but still I'm less limited because I don't feel like the pressure of the end of the year. So everything that I watch that's not for the podcast is prep for another podcast. So I mean, we do have 2005, but I feel like we're still far enough away to where I don't feel pressure to watch one every time I'm not watching something for a show.
Yes. I watch an 05 move every other day. I try to, but then I was gonna, like, with a movie I was about to watch was the Fog remake, and then I was just mad, and I was like, I don't feel like watching the Fog remake right now. So I might try to watch something better later, like Wolf Creek or something from 05. But yeah, it is nice watching moves. I went over to my aunt's yesterday and hung out, and right when I was about to leave, she was like, "Oh, Carly, did I ever give you Disturbia back?" And I was like, "What?" And she handed me Disturbia, and I was like, "What do you mean, give me back?" And she was like, "Oh, I borrowed this, like, 7 years ago." And I was like, "Oh." And it turns out I owned Disturbia all this time, but I had let her borrow it, and she just now returned it. So I know not to let my aunt borrow things. But that was just a funny little thing that happened to me. And other than that, I have been chilling. I got a coloring book that is a horror coloring book, and I've been coloring in that while watching my moves. So that is my life.
Right. So, yeah, this will be our first review of 2021, which is pretty cool. I don't know a lot of movies that are out right now. I haven't been really paying attention. This is one that I noticed came out because Exploding Heads covered it, and I was curious about it because the cover to the film didn't look like a horror film at all. So I was like, okay, what is this about? And I'm a fan of Chloe Grace Moretz, so I was interested in checking it out. But anyway, we will get to that a little later. Anything exciting happened this week to you?
No, not really. So did you listen to Exploding Heads' thing on this?
No.
Oh, okay, because I had listened to it, and then I was watching the movie, and I'm stupid and just forgot the movie, that's what the movie was that they reviewed, and I was like, wait a minute, I'm watching this move, and this move seems like the move they were talking about, and it was. But no, nothing really exciting. I bought a tripod, I got a coffee table, so I mean that's kind of exciting for me, but not to the general audience. But now I can make videos in any location I want and not have to worry about putting the camera on the right. I have to sit on my floor to do my updates and put it on my furnace to record, but now I can do it wherever I want. So that's kind of exciting. Other than that, I really haven't done too much. So, how about you, buddy?
I really didn't do much at all besides work this week. Work has been a little bit more challenging because I've been training most of the days, and the person that I'm training, very different than me, so I've just been really fake the whole time.
Yes, you are fake.
Yeah, just different viewpoints on things, so I just try to be respectful and not insert my opinion on things too much, and just let it be professional. But yeah, that's always fun.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've been mostly training a lot, and that's all that it kind of ruins my work day, because I feel like I have to put 100% effort into trying to get this person to learn stuff, and it always just makes the day harder, because the job that I work is a really hard job to learn. It's like an easy job once you get it, but there's so much that can go on that it's really hard to train someone for scenarios you don't know are going to come up. It's you got to kind of wait till it comes up type of thing. But besides that, I've just been watching movies for fun, which is pretty nice. Me and you hung out on Friday, so we'll talk about that a little bit later.
Right.
Been watching sports a little bit. My Steelers absolutely got their buttholes blown out.
Oh, I see.
It was very traumatic. But honestly, I'm almost kind of used to, it's almost like these embarrassing losses are becoming a norm. The Penguins got bounced out in the first round last season by a team that normally wouldn't even have made the playoffs. Go back a few years, us getting murdered in the AFC Conference Championship by New England. There was that really bad game where we lost to the Jacksonville Jaguars. It seems like lately we've had very consistent embarrassing losses, and that's not fun.
Yes. Football.
And then the Penguins season started, and they started 0-2 to Philly, so we did win today, which was nice. We won in overtime against the Capitals, which is another rival. This season is kind of different because it's all interdivisional play due to COVID, so all the games are against division rivals, which is weird. So it's like more intense and stressful, kind of, but yeah.
Right. That is why we are here, to hear this pod. Sports.
So, yeah, let's go ahead and get into some things that we watched.
Alright, who is going first? Who shall go first? I guess I shall go first.
Yeah, you go first.
Alright, first up I watched Re-Animator from 1985. Watched this over at a friend's house. They were having a movie night, and this is what they decided to put on. And I really enjoy Re-Animator. It's honestly becoming a movie that I can almost consider one of my favorites. It's a great, just a fun time for me. I think Jeffrey Combs is fantastic in it. Probably, well, I don't even know if I could say it's his best role, because he's really good in everything, and he's played a lot of dynamic characters. But I think it's probably his best known role. But it's a fun movie, fun effects, just fun characters. I give Re-Animator a 9 out of 10. Fun one to watch in a group, too. And then after that, we all watched Cabin in the Woods. Just, I don't know, because it's kind of comedic, kind of horror, and, you know, more modern movie, 2011. And Cabin in the Woods, I tried to watch once a few years ago, and I remember I just ended up falling asleep while watching it because I was tired, and I think I had like a glass of wine or something, so it wasn't really in the mood. And so yeah, this was like my second attempt at it, and I think the concept is cool with the film and everything, but there's just something about it I can't really get into necessarily, but it does have its fun moments. And like I said, I think the concept is definitely nifty, though I pretty much knew it's going in, because, you know, this movie's 10 years old now, so I've heard hearsay about the film, and that it's not what you think it is, and all this stuff is going on, so it wasn't really shocking to me, but I give that like a 7 out of 10. Then I watched Slumber Party Massacre from 1982. Austin bought me this on the Screen Factory Blu-ray for Christmas, and we tried to watch this at the Halloween marathon, like just as a, I guess, encore movie. Not everyone was quite ready to go home, so we put this on for fun. And it's a pretty short movie. It's only like an hour and 16 minutes, and I didn't really pay too much attention to it when we put it on that one night, but I was intrigued, so I wanted to give it another shot, and it's a fun film. I mean, it's very basic slasher, definitely just the definition of a slasher movie. I think it's pretty good, and like I said, it's short, it, you know, gets to the point, and that's kind of that. So I think I gave that like a 7.5 or an 8, somewhere around that, probably a 7.5. And then I watched Red Eye as per my Survive 05, and Red Eye, of course, is a thriller by Wes Craven about Rachel McAdams is in it, and that dude from 28 Days Later, I always forget his name, but you know, she's getting on a plane. I think her grandmother passed away, so she's taking a flight home for the funeral. And it's funny, like, I saw this when I was young, so I didn't remember details. I knew she had kind of an important job, but Rachel McAdams' character is like a hotel manager, I think, at this very fancy hotel, so it's kind of funny watching it, and there's a few funny moments with, like, super entitled guests, and it's, you know, relatable since, you know, I worked in a hotel, you did especially, so thought that was funny, but yeah, this movie still held up pretty well for me. There's a few times where I think it's a little unbelievable with, because obviously it's kind of about she meets this guy, and they end up sitting on the plane together, and then he has an ulterior motive, and it becomes kind of like an issue, and they're kind of bickering back and forth, and I just feel like maybe people would have noticed something suspicious on the plane, but at the same time, I don't know, maybe if I was on a plane, I would understand more and probably maybe not be paying attention to the fact that something serious is going on, but other than that, it's a good movie. I gave that an 8 out of 10. Then I watched Parents from 1989, the Vestron Blu-ray I picked up at this place called, I believe it's called Eides, it's E-I-D-E-S, Eides Entertainment. I think I talked about it last time, went there with Austin and Andrew Schroer, and we picked up some movies, and Parents was in the used section for a little bit cheaper, so went ahead and grabbed it. I like this movie. I have a VHS of it, and the VHS is pretty bad condition, so I did want to own this and upgrade it on Blu-ray. I was happy to find that. And it's a pretty good movie. You know, it's about this kid and his mom and dad, and they keep having, like, these quote-unquote leftovers of meat all the time, and the kid's kind of, like, weary and wondering where the meat comes from.
Dude,
and
little story about this real quick. So, I had seen that movie on Monster Vision in, like, the mid to late 90s, and I didn't know what the name of it was. All I remembered was what you just said, and whenever I got the internet, like, years later, there was a website that I found that was like, you know, like, what is this movie or something like that, where you could, like, it was like a message board, and you could, like, post a description of a movie, and people would try to figure it out for you. And it was made because of, like, stuff like that, like people watching back in the 90s where there wasn't a guide where you could just see what the movie was. You had to either catch the beginning of it or hear the host talk about it. And I remember typing, like, I just remember it was like 80s or 90s, and it's a kid who keeps having to eat leftovers every day. There's, like, always leftovers, but it's like they don't know what the original food was. And somebody told me, I think it's Parents, and that's when I found out it was Parents. And you know what's funny? I still haven't watched that movie since back then, and I've had it on DVD for years, like probably almost 10 years at this point, and I bought the Vestron Blu-ray when it came out like 3 or 4 years ago. So I still haven't watched it, but
yeah, well, I mean, it is a good film. I think you would enjoy it. There's a lot of, like, just the music and the, like, score is, like, really eerie throughout it, and there's a lot of sort of crazy dream sequences that are, like, kind of disturbing, and then it just has, there's, like, a whole gross out kind of thing where the mom's just cooking dinner, and it, like, grosses me out because she's, like, grinding meat and, like, making a meatloaf, and it, like, I feel like gagging thinking about it, but it's a good film. I enjoy it. I think give that like an 8.5 out of 10. I really like it. But then after that, I watched Dark Water from 2005. That's, of course, the American remake of Dark Water. I think the original is just Japanese. And I love the original Dark Water from 2002. I think it's super creepy. It's honestly one of the creepiest, like, unsettling movies for me. I don't know what it is. I just think it's very well done. And not a lot even happens in it, but it's, like, just there's such an eerie atmosphere to it that I really love. This Dark Water, of course, stars Jennifer Connelly and, what's that guy's name? It's got, like, the guy from Step Brothers who isn't Will Ferrell is actually in it as the dude who sells her the like, landlord, I guess, of the apartment complex. But he's actually good in this film. fits the role pretty well. But yeah, this Dark Water, it's very much like a lot of the, you know, American remakes of foreign films where it just feels super watered down, if you will, and very basic. It kind of loses some of its soul that the original had, and like I said, that's like a lot of the American remakes. I think like The Ring is probably one of the most successful as far as that goes, but yeah, this isn't that good. I mean, I saw it when I was a kid and didn't really care for it, was kind of bored by it, so watching it now, I wasn't really bored by it, but it just wasn't scary, it wasn't creepy, there wasn't really much of an atmosphere to it. Focuses more on like effects and stuff like that. There's a lot of scenes where water's just like seeping through everything, and you know, so it does try to do some things a little bit differently, but especially the end, it's soulless. I just didn't really care for it too much. But I mean, it does have its moments. I think Jennifer Connelly and, like I said, dude from Step Brothers, who isn't Will Ferrell, they were both good in their roles, and acting's decent. The setting is good. The apartment complex reminds me a lot of what it's like in the original, where it's a little bit run down and has this very grayish, greenish tone to it, so I did dig that. But for me, I think I gave this like a 6, maybe a 5.5, somewhere around there. After that, I watched Roadkill from 2011. This was a sci-fi original movie that I picked up at the Dollar Tree, and it was one of the Man-Eater movies. And it's about a group of kids who are on a road trip in Ireland. They're all in an RV, and they stop at this gas station, cause some problems with a gypsy, and get this curse put on them where this giant bird thing is following them around and killing them one by one. So I thought it was actually pretty fun. The bird looks super fake, very CG, very obviously super low budget, but this movie wasn't nearly as bad as I thought it was going to be. The acting was actually really good in it, and few funny lines. Some of the, I just reviewed this for my YouTube thing, and I said this, like, some of the characters look alike, so you kind of get them confused a little bit, but it was a fun film. I gave it a 6 out of 10. And then I watched Wrong Turn 4, also from 2011, and I watched this since we're going to see the new Wrong Turn here soon, and I just picked this up. But Wrong Turn 4 is a prequel, and it's set in the snow. There's a group of kids on those, I don't even know what you call them, like motorized
snowmobiles?
Yeah, snowmobiles.
You're an idiot.
Oh, buddy, whatever. But they're on their snowmobiles, and they are riding in the snow, and it's like there's like a bad storm coming, and I think they end up getting lost, so they're like, we're going to freeze to death out here, and then they happen upon this old sort of sanitarium place, and they're like, I guess we'll just sleep here overnight. And of course, the what do you even call those guys? The Three Finger and his crew. They're there at the place. I think it's like
Three Finger, Sawtooth, and One Eye or something.
Sure, I think Three Finger is the only actual one that is back in every move. But anyway, you know, those mutant like guys are there, of course, and they start killing them. Yeah, I actually really enjoyed this. I love the winter setting. I thought that was a good idea to change it up a little bit, because, you know, Wrong Turn movies are typically just in the backwoods during like the summertime and stuff like that. So that was a nice thing to do, kind of like how everyone wants Friday the 13th to have Jason in the snow. They kind of do that with this film, so I thought that was cool. There was definitely some dumb character decisions, and you know, a lot of the effects, like the blood and stuff, looked really fake, but I like the kills in these movies. They always use recurring things like barbed wire to kill people, and they're really big on cutting people's heads off, I noticed, in these films, so I think that's kind of funny, but it was pretty good. I really enjoyed the setting and everything, so I actually gave that one a 7 out of 10. That was the first time watch for me. And then lastly, I watched Wrong Turn 6, 2014, because I also bought that one on DVD. And this film was about this guy. I honestly, I started watching it last night, fell asleep, and finished it this morning, so I forget exactly what his issue is, but he has like a kind of a troubled life, doesn't really have anywhere to go, and he inherits this hotel, like fancy schmancy hotel in the middle of the woods, and one thing leads to another, and it turns out he's related to the Wrong Turn clan. Sound familiar? Yes, it sounds like Texas Chainsaw 3D in my opinion, which came out a year before this. I like halfway through I was like, wait a minute, this is like the same type of plot, like, because the guy like wants to move there. He's like, I don't really have any other home, and he's gonna live at the hotel, and then he starts finding out he's related to the people and all that stuff. I didn't care for this one too much. I thought it was pretty weak. Definitely a quality drop. Acting wasn't that good in it at all, honestly. It was very unbelievable acting, and it does kind of redeem itself towards the end. There's like a few scenes I thought were cool with the Three Finger and his crew and whatnot, but the whole plot I was not a fan of, where they're kind of, again, they're changing up the thing a little bit, where instead of just being lost in the woods, like they take it to this fancy house, hotel thing in the middle of the woods, and then you have a few regular people there who are showing them around, but then it's like there's something fishy about them. But I didn't think it was that good, but it wasn't the worst thing ever, so I gave that an average 5 out of 10. So that's my moves.
Okay, I guess I shall go.
You shall go.
Hold on, dude. I gotta pop. Alright, so the first film I watched was The Goonies on 4K from 1985. Well, the 4K didn't come out in 1985, but the movie's from 1985. And this just so happens to be my personal favorite horror or regular movie ever.
Right.
And yeah, The Goonies is a absolute classic. It's about a group of kids who are friends in a small coastal town, and they essentially stumble upon a treasure map. The town houses, like all the houses, are like up for foreclosure because this rich person wants to build a golf course, which I never understood how they would build a golf course in that town. In where their houses are, because it's like all on a big ass hill. But
yes, plot hole.
They shut up, dude.
Plot hole.
And so the film follows these kids who find a treasure map. They go and investigate this area where there is a group of criminals called the Fratellis. It's like a family of criminals, and they venture into these caves looking for this pirate ship of One-Eyed Willie, who was a famous pirate who stole a bunch of gold and rubies and stuff like that. This movie is insanely good. It's probably the best adventure film ever made, in my opinion. You have such likable characters. Everybody is awesome. Even the side characters are good. Just larger than life characters. I saw this film when I was like 5 or 6, and it's been a staple in my film watching since then. I've seen it dozens of times. In fact, there was one time where I was living, I didn't have internet, didn't have like Netflix, obviously, or anything like that, so I was just stuck watching movies that I owned or could borrow. And one of my friends had Goonies on VHS, and I borrowed it and watched it like probably 30 times in like 2 months. So yeah, I've seen it a ton of times. We watched it last year at the theater, a couple of years ago at the drive-in. I've watched it on VHS, I've watched it on DVD, I've watched it on now 4K. I've seen this movie in tons of different formats, and it is phenomenal. I absolutely love it. It's one of my favorite movies ever. The 4K, it didn't look like super amazing. It looked better than the Blu-ray, but it wasn't one that I would be like, hey, if you want to see what 4K is capable of, watch The Goonies. But it was still pretty cool. I love the cover that is on the 4K too. It's just an awesome movie. It's an obvious 5 out of 5. Then I watched Lake Michigan Monster. This came from Arrow Video. I thought it was a like old movie from like the 70s or something, but it's a contemporary film from 2018, and it is shot in black and white and has like an old-timey look to it, like almost like that of like a silent film or something, but you know, the person has like an AK-47 and stuff like that. It's about this sea captain who's not really a sea captain, who hires some people to hunt a monster in Lake Michigan to basically get revenge because this monster killed his father. It's absolutely ridiculous. It's stupid, but it's actually, I actually really found it funny, which I did not expect that a movie like this would work for me, but it did. The end gets completely ridiculous, kind of Lovecraftian and just insane. The animation and it just, it's like, it's bizarre. You just have to see it to understand what I'm talking about. And there's a song in it like about the sea captain that plays on the menu, and after I finished the movie it went back to the menu and I was like editing a video and the remote was like clear across the room. I didn't feel like muting it, and that song just like got on my nerves so much after like the 50th time. But I give it a 7 out of 10, or like a 6.5 out of 10, I'd say 6.5 or 7. Then we have Vigilante from 1982. This was a Blue Underground release that I got as a screener, but I also bought myself. It is a 4K, and it is a movie that if you're going to show off a 4K, this is one that you might pick, because it's an older film from the early 80s, and it looks absolutely stunning. Like, I mean, there's barely any grain. It is just phenomenal. Like, some of these transfers that Blue Underground are doing are like the best out there. Blue Underground might be doing the best 4K transfers in the game right now. And yeah, Vigilante, it follows a like steel worker or like a construction guy, I forget what he is, in New York. He's just a regular blue collar guy, and violence is really high in the city, and there's like a street punk crew who assaults his wife and kills his son, and then, you know, it goes to court, and the leader of the street gang is in court, and Joe Spinell is actually a lawyer. He has a small little cameo, and he like basically is paid off, and the judge is corrupt, and they let the dude off with like a technicality, and this just enrages the lead, and he runs into Fred Williamson, and Fred Williamson has this like vigilante justice group that are going out and like taking justice into their own hands, and basically he gets in there and they start going after the street gang, and it's pretty cool. I really like this movie. It's, you know, similar to that of Death Wish, you know, probably inspired by the Death Wish films. I believe that Death Wish 3 had came out this same year. I actually didn't watch this when we were prepping for 82, but I wish I would have. Even though it's not a horror film, it's like exploitation. Directed by the one and only Billy Lust, who, of course, we know directed Maniac, Maniac Cop 2, Maniac Cop 1, Maniac Cop 3. Said that out of order. And yeah, this movie is definitely better than Maniac Cop 3. I'll tell you that. But yeah, I wish William Lustig would have directed a few more films, because it's he has a cool style. But yeah, I gave it a 8 out of 10. Then we have Silent Running from the year 1972, and this was another Arrow video screener that I got in, and it is about, it's set in a post-apocalyptic world where the Earth has pretty much been scorched, and all the foliage, like the trees, the bushes, the plants, are all gone, and they are attempting to keep that alive. They have these big spaceships with huge domes attached to them that have like the last remaining trees and stuff, and they take care of them. There's like a corrupt, or not even a corrupt, maybe corrupt, but like basically the people in charge are like, we don't need these anymore, let's blow them up, which just seems silly and stupid to me. That was the one problem with the plot that I had, was it's like, why? And the one guy that's taking care, like the other two ships blow up, and then the guy who's on the last one taking care of the trees and stuff in the forest, he's like really upset and doesn't want this to happen, obviously, so he kills the people that are sent to blow it up. He causes like a little decoy explosion and basically takes off with the planet, or the ship, and he basically takes care of the plants, and the only people there is, well, there's no people there, it's just him, but he has these 3 little robots. He teaches them to play poker and stuff like that, named Huey, Dewey, and Louie. Kind of cute. The movie, it was really boring for most of it, and then I started getting into it towards the end, like towards the second half of it, just because you start spending a lot of time with this guy and these robots and stuff like that, and that was kind of fun. But yeah, it's like an anti, pollution type of film, and it's pro eco-friendly type movie. So it was okay. I thought it was okay. I mean, I thought it was good. It was decent. It's just kind of boring. It's not a horror film or anything. It's just a weird sci-fi movie. Would have liked to see some more post-apocalyptic stuff. Like, most of the film takes place in this ship, which had a cool set design, I will say that. I gave it a 7 out of 10, or 6.5. Then we have The Baby, 1973. This is an Arrow title that I had in the collection for a while and just haven't got around to. And yeah, this is one that I remember seeing and reviewing years and years ago in like 2014. When we took a break from 22 Shots, I had a short-lived side podcast called A Double Shot of Horror, and we covered The Baby and what was the other film? It was the one, Grace. Grace was the other film. Some baby horror. This is some different baby horror. It follows a woman who is going into or she is like a social worker type thing, where she's like dealing with families and their kids and stuff like that, and she meets this family who have a like full-grown man baby. So it completely acts like a baby, but it's a man. And the woman begins to suspect that the family, which is a mother and 2 daughters, are intentionally stunting the baby's development, and they're keeping it in baby form, essentially. Like you can't walk and stuff. It's really weird. Total 70s movie. Like, this feels like a 70s film. Like, just the concept, everything about it. It's classic 70s cinema. Horror exploitation cinema. And there's some weird scenes in here. Like, there's a babysitter who's watching the baby, and like there's like a weird breastfeeding scene that's super like uncomfortable and weird. And the mom comes home and catches the babysitter with her tit in the baby's mouth. And obviously this girl wouldn't be able to lactate, right? Like, you can only do that when you're pregnant, right? Isn't that how that works?
Yeah, I can't, yeah. As far as I know, no milk comes out of my titty.
Yeah, exactly. So, it's weird, and she, like, beats the hell out of this teenage babysitter. And, yeah, so it's a fun movie. It has a weird, kind of dumb, but, like, so 70s twist. And I've always liked it. It's a pretty fun movie. I gave it a 7.5 out of 10. 7 or 7.5. I'm kind of, like, can't decide today.
Yeah, I've always wanted to see that one.
Yeah, it's pretty fun. Then I watched Wrong Turn last year, and I've been wanting to kind of go through the franchise a little bit. I've only seen up to 4, so I watched Wrong Turn 2 Dead End from 2007. I probably haven't seen this since 2007 or 8. This is a film that I owned on DVD. I picked it up at an FYE for like $3 years ago, sealed, and never watched it. And then I was going to watch it, and I was like, I know I own some of the Wrong Turns on Blu-ray, but which ones are they? So I went and looked, and I was like, wow, I own a sealed copy of Wrong Turn 2 on Blu-ray, so I guess I'm watching that. So now I have a sealed DVD that has the same special features on it for no reason.
Great.
And yeah, so essentially I popped it in, and I was kind of interested to see what I thought about it, because I'd always thought it was pretty decent for a sequel, but I thought it was a step down from the original. But a lot of people, like Moods, thinks this one's better than the first one, so I was like, maybe, watching it now, I'll feel that way. I don't feel that way. I think the first one is actually a fantastic horror film. Like, it's really good. Wrong Turn 2 definitely amps up the campiness. It follows a group of people who are auditioning or casted in a reality show called, like, Apocalyptic or Apocalypse or something. And the host is Henry Rollins, who's, like, a former Marine in this movie. And they're basically out in the West Virginia wilderness, and that is the home of the Wrong Turn family. So, of course, the mutant cannibals show up and start picking people off. It's very violent and gory. Some of the gore is a little campy, but it works. Some of it's actually quite brutal too. Like this woman gets killed on the edge of a river, like brutally with a knife, like slashed up. And then there's actually a pretty like sad. I don't know if it's sad. It's kind of sad scene where two people are like hanging from a tree and they get killed. That one actually is a little bit disturbing because it was almost like torture, where these people are hanging from the tree and like they're about to die. But it's like, I don't know, it didn't come off as campy as the rest of the movie. The mutated people look, kind of, some of them look better than others. I'd never realized, but Three Fingers is in this one. So, like, the smaller, skinnier one from the first film, it's supposed to be him. And I never knew that until I looked it up, and Three Fingers is pretty much in all these movies. So, that's your continuation right there.
I don't really remember part 2 that much, but I remember I did like it. I do like part 1 better, though. I remember that.
My favorite scene in the movie is there's an actor who returns from the first film. He was just a gas station clerk in the first film, and they tie him into the thing, and I was like, oh, that's really cool. I remember even thinking that back when I first seen it. So, yeah, I liked it. I thought it was pretty good. I don't think it's as good as the first one. I gave it a 7 out of 10. And then I watched Wrong Turn 3 Left 4 Dead from 2009, and I remember to this day when I first seen this. So, like, my grandfather really liked the first 2 Wrong Turn movies. He was a logger and somebody who worked in the woods. Even his second longest job was, like, clearing land and woods for, like, the gas wells and stuff. So he was, like, always in the woods, so this stuff is like interesting to him, and he's worked in West Virginia woods and stuff like that, I think, so very interested in that, and he liked the first 2 a lot. So I remember when the third one came out on DVD, my friend was over, and we were gonna just like grab some pizza and stuff and hang out. And we went to Walmart, and the Wrong Turn 3 was on DVD, and my pap was like, oh yeah, we gotta get this. And it was $20 on DVD, like, brand new DVD. And he got it, and we went home with the pizza and, like, pop or whatever, and we popped it in, and we're all sitting in the living room watching it. And, like, I remember when, like, the first, like, just right away, he's like, this looks crappy, like, he just, the look of the movie, he's like, what is this shit, and he's like all like questioning it and like, what the hell's going on here, why does it look so crappy? And like, he's not a huge cinema fan, so he didn't really see too much like lower budget stuff. So I remember he was just real mad at it, and it was funny, and it amped up how bad we thought it was. But it's about this prison that is transferring inmates, and they are getting word that there's an escape plan, so they alter the route through like the Wrong Turn back roads, and they get their bus attacked by Three Fingers, and they basically, it's like a fight for survival. There's also this like money subplot and stuff. It's honestly, it's bad. It is a bad movie. The CG is like pretty atrocious. Like, there's one scene where somebody gets cut in half and their body slowly falls apart.
Yeah.
That's like a staple of this era. Actually, it's a little late.
Yeah, it is.
It's a little later because 2009 that had been going on for a real long time, so it's even more unoriginal. So it's pretty bad. There's some okay stuff in it. All the acting is horrible. Like, some of the green screen is awful. It's mostly set at night, though, which I thought was kind of cool, because you don't really get that with the Wrong Turn movies. At least the first two. They're like part night, part day. But yeah, I thought it was pretty bad, but I kind of enjoyed it more than I did the last time I watched it, just for the cannibal craziness. And I would say that it's not great, it's not super good, but I did enjoy it. I still only gave it a 4 out of 10 though. Could even be lower. And that is it for the films I watched besides our movie night.
Alright. Yes, we had a movie night, we had stack nights, and it was fun, and we watched 2 2005 movies.
Yeah.
So,
and we did it at random. I brought over a bunch and we just randomly picked.
Yes. And what did we pick?
So we picked... Oh, first of all, how was your stack?
Oh, it was a good stack.
Yeah.
I wasn't, like the night we ate them, I didn't eat that much. I ate like half of the stack, but then the next day I was like, I still have a stack. And then I ate the rest of it, and it was like, somehow it was even better then. So, I ate it all up.
Yeah.
How was yours?
It was a little bit overcooked compared to what I eat. I would say it was like very, very light, medium rare.
Yeah.
I usually go towards closer to rare, but it still was pretty flavorful and good, so yeah, I liked it. Yeah, we randomized some movies. The first one that got picked was Venom from 2005. What's this one about?
Why'd you have to ask me that?
Did you not watch the move?
I watched the move, I swear. Hold on. I just need a refresher on the move. That is all. Dude, it's about like a snake, and yeah, it's okay. A gas station owner Ray saves an elderly voodoo priestess trapped inside a wrecked car, but then he opens her mysterious suitcase and becomes possessed by the evil spirits it contains. And then Ray turns into this murderous zombie killing things that cross his path, and terrorizes a group of teens that include his son, with the help of the charm of the voodoo priestess. Sean and friends fight to stay alive as they are pursued through the bayou. That all came off the top of the dome there, and that is what the movie is about. So what did you think?
I'd seen this before years ago, and I wasn't really a huge fan of it. But I did give it a higher rating back then. I actually lowered my rating. It's I like the concept. I like these southern towns, is it New Orleans? Or Louisiana, rather? Yeah. I like, films set in those southern states. Like, I like the voodoo aspect. Like, I love how Louisiana is known as, like, this voodoo place. It's pretty cool. I like the concept of, like, this voodoo curse trapped in these snakes, and it bites someone and they turn into like a killer type thing. But I don't know, I just thought the characters were really weak. I didn't really find it that engaging. Like, there's a lot of this is that territory where like CGI was super prevalent, and they were starting to put it in all these horror films, and like everything is super CG'd in this. But it was okay. I didn't think it was like bad or anything. It's just not that great.
Yeah, the CG was really the big turnoff for me, because it's just super ridiculously fake, and it made it, kind of took away from the scare factor. I agree, I completely like that voodoo, Louisiana, New Orleans type of, setting. That's why I really like the Skeleton Key, which is also an 2005 move.
I have the Skeleton Man.
Skeleton Key, buddy.
Oh.
Key, okay. Okay. But no, that's a good one. Wait, have you seen Skeleton Key? No?
Nope.
Yes, I think you would like it. I think you would like it. And you'll have to watch it for '05 anyway. And that's why I liked Spell, too, because it was, like, voodoo-y from last year. So I did enjoy that, and at first I liked it because it felt like a basic slasher from the time or something
right,
like
yeah,
that.
like
And
all the kids hanging out at the diner and stuff. I do like stuff like that, yeah.
Yeah, I was into that, but overall, I kind of lost interest, as you can see, by me not knowing anything that the movie is about. But I mean, I think I gave it like a 5 out of 10.
Yeah, me too. 5 out of 10.
Yeah.
I saw Dave gave it a 7, so Dave liked it a little more than us.
Yeah, interesting.
All right, and then we have The Maid, 2005. This is a film from Singapore. And I had it as part of the Tartan Asian Extreme line. I used to be able to find these on Second Spin back when that site was still around for really cheap. They had the Tartan Asian Extremes, and a lot of Asian films were pretty cheap. But yeah, it follows a young woman who is a maid, and she gets a job at for this family who has a mentally handicapped son. She starts being plagued by visions of ghosts, and she is starting to uncover a mystery of what happened to the previous maid.
Yes. At first I was very into this one too. I thought it was super creepy. You had said the sound design was really good, and that was my favorite part of it, because it made like the sound of a bicycle going by or just the sound of a door creaking seem super terrifying for no reason. So I thought that was a nice touch to the film.
But then they started overusing the sound with the jump scares. The first like 2 jump scares really creeped us out and scared us. And then it's just jump scare, jump scare, jump scare, jump scare. And it starts showing its flaws, because eventually it just seems like a person standing there with paint on their face.
Right, it's not scary looking, because it'll linger too much on it, and then you're like, okay, well, I can see that's not a real ghost, and I am no longer afraid. And I was disappointed, because I thought, wow, this is going to be really creepy and good at first, and then it just went full on. And I understand, like, that's kind of like what the plot was trying to do, but it just didn't work as a scary movie. It really kind of failed itself with that. So, what did you rate that, buddy?
I wanted to just mention a few more things. So,
do it.
I think that the audio was a little jacked up. So it's a foreign film, and the what do you call it? Like the language is Chinese or one of those languages, but the characters also speak English, and that's kind of annoying because their English is a little bit rough, and it's hard to hear. And I think that just audio mix on these old DVDs are not the best too. So that is a bit of an issue. And it was really hard to hear what they were saying when they were in English. And also, some of the subtitles like cruised by. Like they would say like a big long sentence, and it would just be like a huge long line of subtitles, and then it would just disappear when you were halfway through. So that was a little bit hard. So we were having a little bit hard time figuring out what was going on and stuff like that. And I also think like the plot was, once you figure out everything, it was a bit messy. It just feels like a standard Japanese type ghost influence, you know, like The Ring, Grudge, stuff like that.
Yeah, the audio definitely was a problem. I thought the main girl, her English was okay, but then there was another woman where I literally thought she was speaking Chinese. Then you would hear like one English word, and you're like, oh, she's been speaking in English. So I don't like. I've seen other movies too like that, where because half of it's subtitled, half of it's not, and I don't like that. I'd rather be just one or the other, and not try to mix it up like that. And you even said there's no reason for them to even be speaking English, because they're all in their regular, China or wherever the film takes place. So It was kind of an odd decision, but I gave the movie, I gave it a 6.5.
I gave it a 6.5. 6.5. I don't know. I'm really indecisive this episode.
Right.
All right.
You are.
So let's go ahead and get into our featured review, which is Shadow in the Clouds.
A move that you did not watch.
Why you say that?
You said you did not watch it, and you did not watch it.
It's Shadow in the Cloud.
Yes.
So what is Shadow in the Cloud? Give us a plot synopsis.
Right, hold on. Where has it gone? Here it is.
You are really unprepared.
Dude, you don't even know what you're rating stuff. Okay. A World War II pilot traveling with top secret documents on a B-17 flying fortress encounters an evil presence on board the flight. Starring Chloe Grace Moretz.
Yeah, so basically this young woman shows up on a aircraft, and it's a bomber, and she has orders to go with them. And this is 1940 something, so there's like tons of sexism, like tons and tons. Like, it's overwhelming.
Yeah.
It's honestly like too much, in my opinion. It just feels like it's doing it to say like there was sexism in 1940, you know? It doesn't feel natural to me. It just feels like it's over the top in a way. And we see at the beginning of the film that she's forging this order, so we get the sense that she's not supposed to be there, which makes sense because it would be very not of the time to, I guess, have her there, because they all act like it's like that's weird. This film was written by Max Landis, of note. I don't know if you knew that or not.
Who's Max Landis?
Well, buddy, he is the son of... Relax, buddy, relax.
Buddy, I hate this move. Fuck John Landis. Fuck the Landis family. I said both are F words already. Okay.
We only get one!
Oh, I thought we got two. I thought it was like an R-rated move. Can't you say it twice?
One. In R-rated moves.
Oh.
Or no, R-rated moves. You could say as many times as you want.
Oh, no. I mean PG-13. Wait, no.
PG-13.
I mean
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So, so she goes into this plane. She has a package, and she's like, my package needs to be with me at all times. They're like, you can't take the package down in this thing. I don't really know why she couldn't take it down there. She actually says she couldn't take it down there. I'm not sure why.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that.
Because they put her in like the like bubble gun.
Sperry.
I don't know what it's called.
I thought they called it a Sperry.
Okay, the Sperry. It's basically like the dome gun underneath the plane. And honestly, it makes no sense why she couldn't take it with her. That's a plot hole.
Yeah.
So she leaves it with somebody up top, but it actually kind of makes sense why she left it with that person, so maybe it makes sense, I guess. And they put her in this thing, which again, I don't know why why did she have to ride in there?
I think they were just saying they don't have enough room for her, and I think
Did you see the size of that place? There's like 4 guys in there.
I was thinking it was just like they were being a-holes and didn't want anything to do with her, so they're like, shove her in there.
But, like, there's a live gun in there. If you don't trust her, I don't think you would put her there. You know?
Yeah.
I'm just kind of picking this movie apart a little bit. But anyway, so she's down in there. She's communicating with them. They're all being sexist and pigs to her, like, about her when they don't think she could hear them, which is stupid because they know there's a radio down there, so I don't even know why about that. So she sees a gremlin on the side of a plane, which is cool. That was my favorite part of the movie. I was like, oh, this is going to be a cool, like, creature feature. Like, if you've seen, which is crazy that the Exploding Heads guy, they had to known what this was about because they did the Twilight Zone episodes that has the gremlin on the side of the plane.
Yeah. I forget if they did know it. I forget if they mentioned if they
Brandon
knew that
had to have known or something, because it's perfect, because
it's the same it's really weird.
I've always liked the idea of, like, because that's where the, like, myth of gremlins what came from was mostly in World War II, where they thought the Japanese people were putting like little gremlin monsters in there, sabotaging their equipments and stuff.
Right.
She's there. She sees this little gremlin, and she's trying to tell them. They don't listen to her, obviously. And then she sees a plane, a Japanese plane, and she engages fire in it. And they then start to believe her, but immediately stop believing her, like, the next second. Then you find out what the package is that's classified. They're not allowed to open it. They decide to open it. You find out what the package is. And then I would say around that point, the movie gets completely ridiculous.
Yeah, to be honest, like, the stuff you just said kind of brought it down for me, even, because I wasn't thinking it while watching it, all those little plot holes that didn't make sense. But I was really into it with the whole thing with Chloe Grace Moretz being in that little thing, and you're pretty much just focused on her talking to the guys over the radio. I thought she did a really good job. I told you earlier I thought it was like her best performance, because I think she was great with that accent that she was putting on, and just the stuff she was saying. Like, I found her to be very believable, so I did enjoy that. And also, I think this movie's clearly a little bit low budget, so, you know, it was kind of a good decision to throw her in there and hide the budget a little bit. But yeah, once the package is revealed and that stuff happens, it is completely, I was like, what the heck? But I will say, with those moments, there were a lot of parts where I was getting super bad anxiety, because there was a lot of stuff dealing with heights, and it was really getting to me. So I did enjoy it for that, but
I didn't, because it was just so unbelievable, and like it felt way too Hollywood, like action movie, which always my issue with like action films is that it just feels so unbelievable, like oh, I'm dangling off the edge of a piece of metal that's attached to a plane with one hand, and I swing my arm around, and I have to grab the gun, and I use the sling to hoist myself. It's just like too much, you know what I mean? That doesn't happen in this movie. I'm just giving an example.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just too much for me. I just tune out. I get annoyed. I'm like mad at the movie for being like that, and that's that. I'm just annoyed, you know. So anyway,
the gremlin didn't look good either. I mean,
it looked good at times, but then not at times too. It was okay. I could live with the gremlin, but all the other stuff.
The very ending was ridiculous to me. That whole showdown.
I actually thought it was cool, but stupid, and some of the CG was a bit rough. But like, I thought it was cool because we already thrown most logic out of the movie.
Yeah.
The fact that gremlin was even there was stupid. So, right. Okay, we have this cool final showdown. I was okay with it because the rest of the movie was kind of dumb. I love Chloe Grace Moretz. I love to see her in movies. I did think she carried this movie to be interesting. And honestly, all the cast was pretty good. Mostly you just hear the dialogue. I just think the writing was horrible. I came down on this movie since talking about it.
Yeah, you just kind of ruined the whole film for me, actually. I was a little, probably way too high on it, and now I'm definitely down, but it was fun. It was okay. Like I said, Chloe Grace Moretz, I know you kind of you're a bigger fan of her than I am, mainly because you just think she's so beautiful and blah, blah, blah. But I've never.
It's not even beautiful. It's like cute.
Okay, so cute, adorable. She's the same age as me. Just something I have always thought was cool, seeing her in movies and being like, oh, we're the same age. But like I said, I thought I probably enjoyed her in this movie more than I've ever really enjoyed her. She was good in Greta too, but that's one thing I could say. I think if you had a different actress playing that part, it might not have been as good, but yeah, the whole film is a lot of ridiculousness. I do think it's a fun movie, though, but it definitely has a lot more problems than good. So.
All right. Well, do you want to get into ratings or Letterboxd reviews?
Yeah, most of the Letterboxd reviews are pretty bad. This one person gave it 3 stars. It's Harlequinade.
That's a positive review?
Yeah, pretty much.
Oh, okay.
I mean, there's a few positive ones, but they all look like they have spoilers in them.
Yeah.
But this person's favorite moves are Logan, In the Loop, Gone Girl, and Practical Magic. So this person sucks. Let's see. They said it was actually really fun. Barrett's was good, and she was playing a character that was easy to root for, seeing how the story threw her right in the middle of imbeciles. For the most part of the first act, they found a cool way to hide the low budget. I said that. When they stopped, it resulted in a moment of ridiculous, it simply has to be witnessed. I hate when people are stupid. Bonus point for the nice synth score. So that was that.
Alright, I have a negative one from Dustin Baker, who is a friend of ours, a listener of 22 Shots. And Dustin Baker, we've read reviews from him before. His favorite films are Suspiria, There Will Be Blood, Titus, and Return of the Living Dead 1. But you'll probably like him, buddy. His review starts off with, written by the biggest piece of shit hypocrite in social media sector, comes maybe the most grating and infuriating browbeating of virtue signaling in a film yet. The first 40 minutes of this outright goddamn insufferable is outright goddamn insufferable. It's just Moretz sitting down and being called various variations of bitch in as juvenile way as possible, while subvertly nuanced grace or subtext are not only abandoned but shotgunned to the fucking face. I understand and agree with the messages being shoved up our asses here, but when it feels so horribly forced, hey, he's saying the same shit I said, just way better. It feels false, like 90% of Disney's pandering of the last few years, telling me you really don't believe in strong women when you just want 14-year-old girls and juvenile-minded bloggers to tweet that you do to rake in the money. It's bullshit. There's a long lineage of strong female roles and films with many lessons to how to portray that organically that we actually feel it. This moronic shit is not that. It's hollow and unfathomably... Stop using big words, Dustin Baker.
Yeah.
Stupid. Turning women's rights into a cartoon punchline for the mouth breathers to blindly agree. And then there's some never explained monster B-movie shit that's at least marginally entertaining until she has to have the final fight one-on-one while the useless men stand grape. Yeah, that was a good point. It's cloying and juvenile, leading me to actually yell at it to shut the fuck up multiple times. The directing at least has some nice bits and style and intention, but it's buried under all the annoyance. John Landis now has 2 sins he can never live down: killing Vic Morrow and enabling his son to wreck shop on cinema at large.
Yeah.
Alright, what do you rate this bad boy?
I wanted to read one more review. It was 4.5 stars, and it says, I don't fucking care, you guys are lame. And I think that's funny. Okay, you don't think it's funny? Cool. I don't know. I was at like a 6.5, and now I think I'm down to a 5. And that's only because I did like Chloe Grace Moretz. If I did not, I probably would be lower, but I have to give it an average 5 out of 10.
Matt Lynch, this guy said, just watch the Bugs Bunny short with the gremlin instead. That is fucking funny. 1 out of 5. Yeah, okay, so, yeah, I'm at a 5.5 out of 10. Alright. So what did Exploding Heads think of it?
I don't remember. Because I listen to pods and then I forget what was said, and thank you for making me...
Did it sound like they liked it?
I don't remember, dude. I was listening at work, multitasking. I just remember they...
So what you're saying is Exploding Heads and Dave Z can't keep your attention.
No, they can, buddy. I listened to
Dave,
their,
you
like...
hear that? I know you listen.
No, buddy!
Dave,
No,
Carly
no,
said
buddy,
Exploding Head sucks.
that's not what I said. I listened to, like, I listened to, like, their Twilight Zone-y parts, and then, like,
Well, what did they say about those?
They said, Christian was a fan of the newest version, because they were doing, like, the episode, they did, like, Jordan Peele's...
That was my idea.
That was your idea?
Yeah, I was like, you guys should do the new one, because because they were only going to do the 2 old ones at first.
Oh, okay. Well,
I was like, you should do the new one, because it's different.
Yes, he was a fan of it. He said everyone kind of shat on that new Twilight Zone and how he never wanted to give it a chance, which is kind of where I am too. But he was like, "This is actually good stuff."
Yeah, that one.
Yeah, well, I never. Yeah, okay. And then they enjoyed the older ones, of course. But I remember them because I'm at work and sometimes I do tune out because I'm like
tune out because it's not very good.
No, because I'm answering the phone or working or like
joking.
have to get up or someone behind me says something and then like the girl behind me always talks a lot and sometimes I forget to pause and then like I'm like, oh crap, I don't know where I was. But they did talk. They like said something about well, I can't even say it because it would be like a spoiler, but. And that's how, kind of watching the movie, I was like, oh, I know what's gonna happen in this one part. So
you're saying they spoiled?
They spoiled one part for me a little bit, yes.
I'm just kidding.
Okay.
Exploding Heads is one of the best.
They are. They are my favorite. They are number 1.
What about me?
They are number 1. I'm just kidding, but you guys are tied as my favorite. Not you, like your podcast.
So me.
No.
Okay. Anyway, that will be all for this episode. Next week we will be doing, I'm actually not sure. The week after we're going to try to do Wrong Turn, the newest one. So next week I'm not 100% sure what we'll do, but we'll figure it out. We have till Friday to figure that out because that's when I'm off. Or no, I'm actually not off till Saturday, so we'll have till Saturday to figure it out.
Yes.
Alright, so with that said, I hope you guys enjoyed. We'll see you next time with another one.